So, centre court, Danny.
Yeah.
1st of July, everything reaches a crescendo, and then it's kind of all over. We'll come to what happens next in a moment. Does this give you a different environment because of the stands around it, in terms of looking after this?
Yes. Simple answer is, as soon as that stand goes up and this becomes a mini stadium, it has its own micro environment. The biggest thing you'll see at the moment, we've got natural airflow. We're standing here, you can feel the air coming through. Once that stadia is up, it minimises the airflow. Because of the concrete around and the stand, it starts to increase surface temperature of the plant. So we've seen it when you've got games on, we come out, we'll test the canopy and it will be up at 46 degrees. I mean, it's ridiculous for a grass to be able to try and survive. So you see that through that, just right at the very end, she's had enough. And that's how you want it. You've got to tailor it so that by the time you get to the end, she's just about on that tipping point of losing it, and that's how you want your final.
So when your grass suddenly has to adapt to a new microclimate, what are you having to do to help it cope with that?
So what we find the biggest thing that happens is the bane of most people's lives are fairy rings. Okay. So as soon as you change that environment, you create environmental stresses. So the biology in the soil starts changing, starts reacting, and look, I don't need to tell people in golf how frustrating fairy rings are. I mean, it's incredible. They know that the cameras are running and they come out. It's frustrating. So you have to try and manage that to try and without sounding funny, you've got to keep her happy so that it doesn't then all of a sudden react, fiercely, and you get these unsightly issues. We're trying to manage so we don't get disease pressures, which they're there, but we're trying to manage it so that if there is anything that we can come out of it by, like I said earlier, with our nutritional program, everything's tailored to mitigate stress. That's what we're trying.
Okay. Interesting you mentioned the word stress. You've got quite a condensed period of time to get things ready and then recover from, and in the middle of it, stage a world-class tournament. You're not running at full pelt in terms of manpower at the moment. How are you actually mitigating the stress of you and your guys?
It's unfortunately not a simple answer, because first of all, the season in tennis is incredibly intense for such a short period of time, and when you are running 20% below and your output's still got to be as it was and expectations increase, it's an unfair situation. So you find that the staffing, we're if you like, beaten up until you push that point of constraint, and as soon as that season finishes, there's still no holiday, you then get into your renovational period, and then by the time you get to the end of November, December, people start having holidays, and then you end up with one person at site until you get to about March, because everyone's built out their holiday.
So does everybody have to go skiing in that case? Then
well, if they could afford to, don't forget we're local authority.
Okay, fair point.
So how do you mitigate the stress for them? We've just talked about managing the plant so it's not stressed. We're looking at ways of combating that, and for us, we're living things as well as this, and trying to manage that is really hard. And I think you've got to have your moments of fun. If you get time to rest, you've got to take 5 minutes out. If that means you go and sit down, go and just have a drink, calm yourself, your mind, just chill for 5. We look at, can we all go out as a team? Sometimes we're working late, and look, if it costs me a pint to just get everyone to have a beer together and celebrate the successes of the day, why not? We've integrated by talking to other venues. Let's go and see other places, let's have a talk, change of scenery. We try and do all these things, and you know, the reality is they spend a lot of time here, away from their families and away from their friends. So if they're going to do that and they're not going to get financially rewarded hugely, how can we make this place enjoyable to work at?
Got you. Yeah.
And that's a real challenge, real challenge.
I know it's something that's close to your heart because you've spoken often about it at Turf Business Summit, and I've been along to other talks that you've given at other golf courses, etc. I guess that hits its peak during tournament week, does it? Because depending on what Mother Nature throws at you, you could actually be here, you know, on your feet, pulling covers on and off all the time, yeah?
100%. So when you get the week leading up to it and the week of the event, you're trying to make sure everything is at its elite level, which means the risk of something going wrong and the impact of it is increased. So the lads here, it's not unreasonable for them to come in by 5:30 and then to be covering courts. It's the same team that we have to cover centre 1, 2, 4, 5, 6, all the way down to court 12, and they're not going home until 10:30. They don't leave here till 10:30. I mean, it's a long time, it's grueling. So if they get to sit down when the sun's out, or if they get a chance to walk round, they should do. But you and I both know, as soon as you see someone sitting down or walking round, it's like, oh, look at them, the easy life.
Yeah.
They haven't seen the blood, sweat and tears that's gone behind it. And to be fair, that's for me to bat against, not their fight. Let me fight it, enjoy it. If the sun's out, take a walk around, enjoy the fruits of your spoils. And then if you do get a chance to sit down, take it. Sit down, read a book, headphones on, because the reality is if they take half an hour and they fall asleep, if they take an hour sitting down, but it means I get 4 hours of somebody that's happy, willing and productive, it's win.
Of course it is. And I know you got inflatable covers for centre court here, which I'm sure is a bit easier to put on than the other courts, but so what happens when it rains? Is there kind of an army of people that all descend on all the courts at the same time and pull the covers out?
Right, so what makes here different to other venues is we don't have a team of court coverers coming in. So you'll see the same collective pulling these courts, then going on to the next, then going on to the next. And inevitably, by the time you get to the last court, the rain stops. So then you go back round. And what makes it a challenge is when you have an inflatable, so centre court where we are, inflatable, around us is a ring beam with a drainage. So it's constantly shedding that water off its dome, if you like, its bubble, it's shedding that water. When you have a flat cover and you have got a non-porous surface that's then taking 1 mil over 1 metre square over 1,000 metres square, you start to get tons and tons of water that has to be physically removed before you can then start pulling the covers. And I find that's a struggle. When we're here, this gets deflated, it's off. Out there, we're the ones that get deflated, and then it's off. It's a real challenge,
Just something that occurs to me is, you know, do you have to do drills to practice getting the covers on and off, a bit like pit stop practices for the Formula 1 teams?
Yes. So what we do is, because we employ what's known as court crew, etc., and we're not talking hundreds here, but it's part of health and safety as much as anything else. So when the courts covers are installed, we then have to do training drills on how to safely remove them, how to safely put them back on, and then how to safely remove water. And I know that sounds silly, but we have had in the past people picking something up that they shouldn't, doing something and having an accident. So now it is that risk management, it's looking after people, and it's saying, look, this person is in charge. That person then communicates to you. You have a certain point to go to. If there's an issue, communicate to them and they come back. There's no point having 15 people trying to take the lead. Doesn't work. One person communicate, and then these heads of areas come to me, we talk to the ref and we sort it. You've got to cut to the chase, what's the issue, and let's do it safely.
So when you're doing those drills, do you have like a target time, or is it just a case it takes as long as it takes?
No, there is no target time. What you find is when people pull that cover over the first time when it's raining, they're full of energy and they pull that cork cover and it is done quicker than the umpire's off.
Yeah.
By the time you've done it 13 times on that one call, the umpire's got enough time to come off, take his time, because everyone's dead on their feet. You've got to do it as quick as you can, because as soon as that moisture's on that call and you cover it, it's only going to sweat. It's only going to start to breathe more, and it's going to just build up that moisture content. So when the covers come off, sun's out, and then you're saying, hang on, I've got to now remove moisture, it's hard to correlate that. And they think you're looking for something as you're coming out with blowers, swishes. That's the challenge.
So tournament ends.
Yep.
Easy then, isn't it?
Yeah, when you say it like that. So when the tournament ends, so on the Sunday, I don't actually like the lads being here the next day. So when we've done the final, the next day I don't like them being here, because everything's getting stripped down. It's a very different environment from being elated that there's a final, there's a winner, there's trophies. The next day it's quite sombre, it's almost quite depressing, because the seats are empty, everything's starting to get stripped back to its bare bones. So I don't like them being here. Is keep that euphoria going, just keep it. You need 24 hours away and then you come back.
Okay.
For me personally, I have to come in just to make sure everyone's doing what they should be doing.
Yeah, not messing up with your ladies. Yeah.
That's it, yeah, because you can't. You can't.
So what you're doing straight after, you've got 11 days until you've got the county championships, is that right?
Yeah, so what happens is once the stands come down and the site is effectively returned to EBC, Eastbourne Borough, we have 11 days until it's then handed back over to the LTA for their event, which is the Premier County Finals.
Right.
That's held here and it's held at our off-sites. Then we have, I think it's a week and a half break, and then we literally go back to back into veterans, seniors, juniors, and then eventually the season will finish in September. And then you've got that small window to rip it up.
Rip it up and then people
Start
can go off on
again.
holiday. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you start working on this, what, March time again?
So once we've finished the renovations and you have your growing period, I would say very basically we start the prep in September.
Right.
So as soon as it comes to that renovation, why are you doing what you're doing? What are you trying to improve on from last year, or what are you trying to remove? So if you said, for example's sake, for me, everything we've done here is gone. I'm not even thinking about it. This is just about that fine tuning. It's happened, it's done. So you're already thinking for 2024. So in your reno, you strip it off, or you half strip off it, whatever you're gonna do, why are you doing it, ready for 24. So for me, it starts in September. Essentially everything starts ramping up in spring. So let's just say February, March. But it's usually September.
So really you got January to get your holiday in then.
That's usually what happens.
Yeah.
It is. It's usually January, and then carry out the remaining over that you don't get.
You're not alone in that, I'm afraid. It's a problem in the industry across the board. And speaking of problems in the industry, I mean, I know, challenges, opportunities, whatever you want to call them in the industry. You've played a key role in the Turf Business Summit over since its inception, actually. You know, a conversation that you had recently in Barcelona with Phil Fifield down at Brighton and Hove Albion FC. Yep. You're looking at doing something for good old Sussex by the Sea, perhaps? I don't know. Do you want to fill us in on that?
Yeah, well, you're right. When we started talking in Barcelona, Look, Sussex has got an elite venue here. It's got an elite venue at Brighton and Hove, as in the football club, and it's got Hove Cricket. They're just three, just in Sussex.
Yeah.
So we had a discussion and said, look, really, there's an opportunity for us. And as of last week, myself and the team, we started this process. So the management team and Phil and his team were kind enough. We went in there, we had a good discussion, we had a good look round, you know, sharing some of the problems, which is always good because then you feel it's not personal, it's just what it is. And we're looking at ways that we can help venues in Sussex. What can we do for grounds care in Sussex? And who knows? I mean, I'm hopeful that it spreads beyond Sussex, for sure. But there'll be a greater dialogue between us, Devonshire Park, and Brighton, as looking at where we can go, for sure.
Well, that's great to hear that, you know, something else has come out of the summit. Danny, I really appreciate your time today. I know you've got a lot on your plate at the moment, so, you know, the time you spent with us is very precious to you. So, you know, wish you all the best for the coming tournament, and we'll catch up with you soon, yeah?
Thank you.